welcome back to our podcast, Very Factual. We're your hosts, Kayla.
And Izabella, and just as we thought, Manchester United were picking up some kind of form. They proved us wrong once again, losing 3-0 to Bournemouth.
Yes, so they lost at home horribly 3-0. Bournemouth opened up the scoring early in the fifth minute, and the score stayed 1-0 all first half. Second half rolled around, and United started to pressure a little bit more, but it didn't last long. Bournemouth scored two more goals in the span of 5 minutes and kept their 3-0 lead, disappointing United fans absolutely everywhere. Even though United completely dominated all stats, it didn't work in their favor at all. First half was just completely awful. I mean, there was no thought behind any passes they made. In the second half, they started out a little bit stronger, but they still couldn't finish any of their 20 shots that they had. I'm just beyond disappointed. And Isabella, I know you're not a United fan, so what do you think of this game?
So I have been known to trash Man United a lot, and that continues with this game. It's another embarrassing result for them. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm kind of shocked because I thought they maybe the Chelsea game would have gave them some kind of confidence, but we've been saying that after every one of their scrappy wins. So it's I'm not surprised, I'm kind of in the middle. I think Ten Hag actually said after the game that they're not good enough to be consistent, even though it's his squad, and he's literally contradicting himself because these are the players that literally he signed, and he'd been there. He's been at United for 18 months now. He had all of last season. He had the summer. He should be used to his players. He literally half the players that he signed are players that he's played with before, and to be honest, it's kind of sad because as a United manager, you have to kind of fight for your team. And to be honest, he's just making these dumb excuses, and it looks like he doesn't even want the job.
No, I agree. And all those players that he signed, and even himself, he didn't realize how much of a commitment going to Manchester United would be. So he
Mm-hmm.
just kind of joined and didn't know what he was doing. And like you said, he's contradicting himself, saying that they're not playing how they're supposed to, but he's the one who signed them. He's the one who's coaching them. So I don't really know what he's talking about. And like we said, we thought it'd give him a confidence boost after Chelsea, but
Yeah.
I guess not. Clearly nothing's really working for them this season.
Yeah, I think they actually started off okay. There was some times where they looked okay, like the first 15 minutes of the first half and the first 10 minutes of the second half. But we talked about the domino effect with them. One thing
Hmm.
goes wrong, the first Bournemouth goal went in and they collapsed. And this could have been a bigger win for Bournemouth. They could have had a fourth goal, but it was taken off. This could have been 4-5-0. And I said I thought that Chelsea game would build them up, but it didn't. And it's how worse can they get? This week they have Bayern and then they have Liverpool at the weekend. And, they're on the brink of getting eliminated from the Champions League. They have to beat Bayern, and Galatasaray and Copenhagen have to draw. And then Liverpool have been amazing. And he doesn't have any ideas. He looks completely clueless.
This was United's chance to get those 3 points because their next games are
Mm-hmm.
not so good in the Premier
No.
League, like you said with Liverpool and everything. So, and they didn't get those 3 points. They were playing Bournemouth and they
Mm-hmm.
lost 3-0. That's just so sad to say.
Yeah, Ten Hag, he doesn't know what he's doing with his side. He started Anthony Martial again, and we've said he's not the answer. I seriously don't
Hmm.
know why he started Hoyland. It could have been that he's saving him for Bayern, but you can't play Martial. He's done at United, and he's been done for a long time. Shaw started again at center back, and he has Varane on the bench. So we've said this, there has to be something going on behind the scenes, because how Shaw is a left back, and then you play Shaw ahead of a World Cup winner, a Champions League winner, probably one of the best defenders in the world at one time. I don't understand why he didn't. And and Dominic Solanke, the Bournemouth striker, he actually had a really easy time against the United defense because, Maguire, he hasn't been the best. He's picked up some form, but, he's not that good. And Shaw at center back just didn't work. And I think pressure keeps building on Ten Hag because there is no unity in this side. Everyone plays from themselves, and as a united squad, you have to be united. Like, it's literally in the name.
Yeah.
And if you lose against Bayern and Liverpool, then I think you got like not the management, like the owners and stuff. They have to make a decision on Ten Hag, because I seriously, if he loses both of those games really badly, then I think he has to go.
Hmm. And Ten Hag is blaming, you said he came out and he said something about the players, how they're not
Yes.
working together. He's blaming the players, but who signed them? Who's the one
Mhm.
who signed them and thought they'd be great? Yeah,
Mhm.
it's to an extent that like it's the players' fault, but it gets to the point where it's like the ones he's pointing at fault are the ones that he signed.
Yeah,
So it's
exactly.
just it gets to a point where you have to look at Ten Hag, not the players.
Yeah, he won manager of the month for November, but it literally looks like he could lose his job in
No, I know.
December. It's like, I don't understand why he won manager of the month. Like, tell me one thing he did. Absolutely nothing.
There's literally nothing.
Yeah, and Maguire, he won player of the month. Out of the whole league, you think
See,
Maguire has been the best player?
like we said, he's picked up some form, but
Mm-hmm.
not enough to make him player of the month.
No, definitely. And Garnacho got goal of the month, which is, he obviously
That's
has to get
yeah.
that. It's just, I I don't even know what to say about this United side anymore, because
It's
they're
just
just so
disappointing.
bad. They're so bad.
They're
And
just so disappointing.
yeah, your captain Bruno Fernandez, he won't be available for the Liverpool game. He got a yellow card, and to be honest, I wouldn't want to play either. To be honest with you,
Hmm.
like, it's just, Liverpool have been great, and last season Man United lost 7-0 to Liverpool. So I think, if I was a player, I wouldn't want to play either. I would be like, see you guys, this is gonna be on you. And
No,
as
yeah.
a captain, right? You need to help your manager out. You need to control yourself. His attitude literally stinks. He's running around like a chicken with his head cut off. He's whining. You have to be the captain. You have to be like a man. You know what I mean? You can't do stupid tackles that some 19-year-old would do. You're a Manchester United captain. You have to act like it.
He's very sassy on the field, I want to
Yeah.
say, because he goes out and something doesn't go his way, he just gets mad and he starts throwing basically a fit. Like you're the
Mhm.
captain, you got to act a little bit more captain. Like you're basically the manager on the field.
Oh yeah.
Like you got to act like that. You can't just act all, baby like.
Mhm. And like United, it looked like they didn't even care about this game.
Mm-mm.
They were like shut off, and Bournemouth wanted to win, and that's the reason they beat them as bad as they did. And it's literally a concern, because this is Manchester United. This is one of the biggest clubs in the world. They have probably one of the best club histories ever, and I seriously don't know how far down they could go, because this is horrible for the club.
Arsenal traveled to Birmingham to play Aston Villa on Saturday and shockingly lost 1-0. John McGinn opened the scoring in the 7th minute to score the only goal of the match for Villa. Honestly, I don't even know what to say. Like, Villa has been on a roll recently. They just beat
Mhm.
Arsenal, and 3 days before, they beat City with the same exact score. Aston Villa is just 2 points from league leaders Liverpool, and Arsenal is only 1 point above them, which puts them in third. And this game was very anticipated. And Arsenal, they did play better when you look at the stats, but they
Yeah.
just couldn't score. And since Villa's goal was so early in the game, it just put a lot of pressure on Arsenal to score, and they just couldn't. And both clubs, in my opinion, they're very good, but they both have their certain strengths on the field. So I feel like that's what made this game so unpredictable and so close score-wise.
Yeah, I think Villa had a harder time in this game maybe than they did at City. I feel like Arsenal kind of took control of it, but Villa got the score. I thought Arsenal would have got something out of it. I thought they could have maybe got a goal and got the win, but Villa, they're playing for one of the best managers in the league so far. I think Unai Emery has been probably one of the most the biggest surprises of the season, and I think all of Villa's success is down to him. He's transformed Villa Park into such a hostile atmosphere, and it's like a fortress there, and they just played with so much grit and so much heart. And the team Emery like set out, like team that he made, they're so versatile. They can go forward,
Mhm.
they can attack, they can sit back and defend, and I think that's the reason why so many clubs have a hard time against them.
I feel like if Unai Emery even tried to coach a different club, it wouldn't work. I feel like he just works so well with Villa, and they work well with him that it clicks.
Yeah, I'm actually maybe disagree with you there because I feel like every club he's been at, he's gotten some success out of them. Like he went to Sevilla, he went to Villarreal, he was at Arsenal at one point early, and I feel he was just such a good manager for those clubs. But I feel like it's maybe because it is Aston Villa, and
Mhm.
we didn't expect them to be this good because it's like the name Aston Villa. You don't put them up there with like, the Liverpools, the Arsenals, the Cities. They were always kind of like this mid-table side until he came in.
Mhm, I agree with you. Villa, they honestly they've just been great this season. They've been the overachievers this season. No one really
Mhm.
expected them, like you said, to be at the top of the table. They're in third now, and they're only
Yeah.
2 points away from Liverpool, who's in first. And I just want to real quickly mention the table. City,
Mhm.
they're falling a little bit about them a little bit later, but
Yeah.
they're the table's a little messed up now. But
Oh yeah.
I'm just proud of Villa for actually being in third place, though. It's very surprising to see them up there and winning against Arsenal, who I knew it was gonna be a close game, but I just didn't think that Villa would win.
Yeah, I thought Arsenal would get something out of it because it looked like they could,
Mhm,
but their front line struggled in this game. I feel like they had some really weak chances. They were just overhitting the balls. They just couldn't time anything right, and they dominated the second half, but they couldn't put the ball in the back of the net. They had a goal, but it was taken off because Kai Havertz, handballed it. It was a tight space and
mhm.
the ball was bouncing off everyone's arm. It probably hit his arm like 3 times. So, it's the correct decision by the referee, and I think he did well because it was so chaotic in the box. But it's very shocking for Villa. I think they are the surprise of the season, and I really hope they continue this run and hopefully they can like finish top 4 because that would be
Mhm.
absolutely amazing.
I definitely see them finishing top 4 with, Liverpool up there and Arsenal too, but I
Mhm.
can't tell you I think City will bounce back up on their feet, but
They
then
will.
again, I'm not sure if Spurs I feel like Spurs and Aston Villa will be fighting for that 4th place spot.
Chelsea's misery continues as the Blues lost 2-0 against Everton at Goodison Park. The first half would remain goalless, but 10 minutes into the second half, Doucouré would put Everton in front. Chelsea's problems were made worse as in the second half, they lost both Robert Sanchez, their goalkeeper, and captain Reece James to injuries. Lewis Dobbin would then come off the bench to score a goal, securing Everton the 3 points. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not shocked that we lost this game at all. I think Everton, we've seen them this season. They have been absolutely amazing. They have a spirit about them. They have like this unity in their squad. They started off great and then they got the 3 point deduction and that like brought them closer together. And they're a really scary side to face at home at Goodison because that stadium has turned absolutely like scary. We talked about
Mhm.
Villa Park being hostile. Everton is probably like 10 times more hostile than Villa Park. I think they're such a well organized side and they take their opportunities and they're out of the relegation zone now. And I think that's all down to their manager, Sean Dyche. And I really, you know, if they didn't have the 3 point deduction, then they literally would have been above Chelsea.
Mhm. No, yeah, they would be, and honestly, I'm not surprised at all about the outcome of this game, seeing as how
No.
they played against United in the game before, they're just kind of they're not they don't have that cohesion within each other
Mm-mm.
anymore. They kind of, gave up on that, and I feel like I'm not sure if this is just one of their downs or if they're just gonna kinda stay at the bottom until the end of the
Yeah.
season because yes, they've had ups, and you kept on saying, "Oh, yeah, they're on the up, they're good." And you see them coming together, and even I agreed with you at some point, but now it's just I don't even know what to think anymore because, yes, Everton is good, but if I saw this game without any knowledge of how, Chelsea has been doing recently, I would 100% think Chelsea's gonna win.
Yeah. I think we statistically played better, but statistics only count for so much. We had 71 percent possession. We had 16 shots. Everton had 9. And I don't remember how many we had on target, but I know Everton had more than us. They had 5, I believe. And, Pochettino, he tried something new in this game. He started Armando Broja instead of Jackson, which I'm so glad he did because we've seen that Jackson can't do anything. But, Broja couldn't do anything either in this game. But I'm just happy he tried.
Hmm.
I'm happy about that. There was no Sterling in this game. He didn't start Sterling. He didn't start Thiago Silva. I will say our midfield looked somewhat decent. Gallagher was back for this game. Caicedo and Enzo, they bounced back after being horrendous during the United game. I thought they did a bit better. And, the only thing that really made me very sad is that, our injuries keep getting bad. I mean, we probably don't have as many as we did before, but we lost our captain once again, and he literally just came back.
Hmm.
Sanchez is our number 1 keeper. I haven't really been a fan of him. He hasn't really convinced me, but it's he's our number 1. So that's kind of, and I think it's going to be hard without them. And this is our 3rd loss in the last 4 Premier League games, and we're now in the bottom half of the table. We are now in 12th, and we probably deserve to be there, but it makes me speechless. It's weird to see just Chelsea in 12th.
I mean, judging by how they've been playing, I expect it, but it's like you said, it's weird to see a name like Chelsea in
Oh
12th
yeah.
place. Like they deserve no, how they've been playing, they deserve to be in 12th. But thinking about it, I'd expect them to be in like 5th maybe. But I saw in this game that there was a little bit more Chelsea was working a little bit more together. They were passing a little bit more. It looked like they kind of had a plan, but they
Mhm.
couldn't really follow through with it. They just kept on losing the ball. I just feel like they kind of lost their touch recently, and they just need to gain it back.
Yeah, I think we actually have a decent side. We have
Hmm.
some good players, but the thing is that they can't click together
Yeah.
because you don't we're just buying players because of the names almost. And I feel like we're running out of ideas and we can't really create chances in the final third. We struggle there. No one really wants to put in a real chance. We had some half chances, but it's no one is constantly at goal. We don't have a Haaland at City who's just constantly in the opposition's box, and we don't have a Salah. We don't. Liverpool probably have the best forward line. There's no Gakpo, there's no Luis Diaz to if we had players like that, I feel like we could have been a bit higher, and that's I think our the biggest place where we struggle. And we've talked about this last episode that everyone wants Pochettino out now, but I don't think he can do anything about this because he's really doing all he can, and the players have to step up now. He's trying to implement his style, and if the players won't receive it and not take this seriously, then it's all down to the players. I feel like Pochettino is doing all he can.
Yeah, I agree. And I feel like Chelsea's signings are the only reason why they're in the position they are right now because like you said, they're signing them for the names, not how well they would work with each other, not how well they have been. It's just the name. It's like you would be signing, for example, Ronaldo to Chelsea just because it's Ronaldo. He
Oh
wouldn't
yeah,
even work well there.
we were
And
linked
you
with
need
him
a
at one point.
yeah, but he wouldn't even work well there. You just know it because yeah, like there's just a different style of play. So Chelsea needs to start to look at their players rather than their manager. Spurs played Newcastle on Sunday and dominated them 4-1. First half, Udogie and Richarlison scored for Spurs, making it 2-0 at halftime. Although Spurs was winning first half, Newcastle wasn't giving up and they honestly kept pressing, which was nice to see. Second half rolled around and Richarlison scores another beautiful goal in the 60th minute straight through the defenders. And after this goal, Newcastle became very sloppy and tired. To be fair, they don't have their normal lineup and they even have a second goalie, not their first goalie. So it can be an excuse, but that's not the only reason. So just as we thought 3-0 was the score, Newcastle's goalkeeper slid into Son with cleats up and rewarded Spurs a penalty. Son took it almost getting saved by second goalkeeper Dubravka, but the goal but the goal made it, making the score 4-0. Newcastle picked up their sloppy form last second and Joe Linton scored, creating the final score of 4-1. I mean, honestly, what a match.
It really was. To be honest, I don't these are 2 teams that have been recently struggling because of injuries, suspensions,
Mhm.
and all that. And, it proves once again that Postecoglou's style prevails. Like, the way he is playing, it's working. And, obviously, Newcastle probably has a bit more injuries. Like, they had a better bench, I want to say. Like,
Mhm.
they got Lewis Hall back, Sean Longstaff was back on the bench, Callum Wilson was back on the bench, and he actually got the assist for the Joe Linton goal. But, they don't have their first goalkeeper. They don't have Nick Pope, and he's been probably one of the most instrumental Newcastle players, I want to say, probably one of their most important ones. And I was actually really shocked at the scoreline. Like, I did not expect it to be this big
Mhm.
because it's it's just shocking to see because I Newcastle started off, I want to say they were like a bit better than Spurs maybe this season. Like last season, especially, I thought they were amazing, but they're running out of steam. And I think we have to see that. The players are tired.
Yeah, I agree, and I saw that in the first half, it was honestly very close. Although it was 2-0 score-wise, the possession, it was pretty close just looking at the game. You could see that Spurs honestly, the only reason that they won is that I noticed that Newcastle, they thought that their defenders thought that they would be taking shots at the very when they saw it in front of the net, they thought that, Spurs would take a shot, but they ended up just passing, and then
Hmm.
someone else would shoot. So Newcastle never really caught on to that, and I feel like if they did, then the scoreline would have been way less.
Yeah, Newcastle had only 9 shots, like in total, and
Mhm.
Spurs had 23. And on target, Newcastle only had 3, and Spurs only had 12. And I think, Richarlison, we've said that he hasn't been like the striker for Spurs. He hasn't really lived up to his hype, but he got the goals in this game, and I'm kind of happy for him because he deserves them. And
Mhm.
it's just, I don't even know what to say. It's just Postecoglou has really instilled his style. He plays the same way with all his players. Like he won't change even if he has a lot of injuries. He just keeps playing the same style, and I think that's why he's getting these results, and that's why he's so successful.
Mhm. Postecoglou is definitely the reason for Spurs' success, even though they've been kind of having their ups and downs recently because of injuries and other matters. He's definitely their manager. He knows what he's doing there. And Newcastle, like, yes, they have their injuries, but they still pressed. You could see that they really were trying, and they ended up getting a
Mhm.
goal out of it. Yes, it was very last second, but I feel like if there was another maybe 10 minutes of the game, we would see Newcastle score another goal.
Maybe they could have. I feel like they wouldn't. I just feel I I think they're so tired that they can't get goals anymore. I think how they started off the season, like they thrashed Aston Villa in the first Premier League game of the season, and as these injuries grew, they got less and less goals, and I I don't the
They
halftime I believe it was 2-0, right?
2-0, yes.
Yeah, I don't think that they have the personnel to like keep going and keep pressing. I feel like they had to sit back and defend because it could have been way worse.
I feel like Postecoglou not Postecoglou, sorry, Newcastle's manager, I forgot his name, but
Eddie
I feel
Howe.
like Eddie Howe, I feel like he needs to make substitutions a little bit earlier in the second half, knowing as Newcastle that this is not their normal squad, so they
Mhm.
will get tired sooner, and yes, they have a limit to how many substitutions, but you know that usually bench players, they don't play for more than 45 minutes maybe. So
Mhm.
knowing that you can put them in, like, halfway through the second half rather than the last 10 minutes.
Yeah, and now Newcastle are in 7th place, which is kind of
Mhm.
shocking to see because they were literally in like what top 4 like a week ago or two, and
Yeah.
Spurs are in 5th. And this title race is the craziest I've ever seen.
Mhm. It's so unpredictable, you don't know who's gonna be where. I mean, in the beginning of the season, we thought City would maintain their spot as
Yeah.
1, maybe drop down to 2 for, like, a week, but then go back to 1st, and now they're in 4th, and we see that Aston Villa is above them, which is just you would never expect that.
Yeah, I think I'm just so excited to see what this season has to hold because
Mhm.
only 4 teams can finish top 4. and it looks like there could be 7 that could be in those spots.
It's so all the points are so close to each other that you don't know
Mhm.
who's gonna end up where at the end of the season.
Manchester City had to climb back to beat Luton Town 2-1. Adebayo would put Luton in front right before halftime, and then Bernardo Silva would then put City back in the game in the 62nd minute, and Jack Grealish would score 3 minutes later, getting City the much needed 3 points. This, you have to say, it was a result that they needed. They're sitting in fourth. They have some crazy teams above them that are absolutely flying. And if they didn't get this win, that gap would have just kept getting bigger and bigger.
Mhm. We saw that, City, they were losing first half.
Mm-hmm.
It was actually quite surprising against
Oh,
Luton because
yeah.
yes, Luton has been surprising me a little bit recently. Like, I know they're in good enough form to be in Premier League, but I wouldn't expect them to be winning 1-0 first half. But, Bernardo Silva and Jack Grealish came, saved them, which is good to see. It was all in the 60th minutes, which
Mm-hmm.
was nice, but, you know, there's only so I feel like City, yes, they definitely dominated this game, like stats wise, like their possession, how many shots. City
Oh,
had
yeah.
18 shots and Luton only had 4. But it's about finishing their shots, and we know this. So Man City, I mean, I'm happy for them for winning a game finally because recently they've been kind of slacking, but they're still in fourth, so they have to win another one to at least try to get back to first.
Yeah, and City had to make some changes in this game because they had no Holland. He picked up
Hmm.
some little injury and he didn't travel with the squad. And something I saw this, so I have been a very big advocate of Joško Gvardiol. And when I saw the lineups, when I saw the team sheet, I saw Kyle Walker, Ruben Diaz, Nathan Ake, and Gvardiol. And I got so excited because I thought Nathan Ake was going to play a left back because I feel like that's where he usually plays. But of course, Pep did it once again, and he started Gvardiol at left back. And I feel like we could see more of Gvardiol if he played him in his position at center back. And I feel like their back line would be even stronger because Gvardiol and Ruben Dias are very, very strong defenders. They're defenders that like to defend. But they dominated. Like you said, they dominated the first half. And I'm also surprised Luton got the lead. I think Luton are so competitive in their home stadium. They
Hmm.
don't really have a good away record, but at home it's incredible. Like their stadium, it's not big and fancy. Like you literally, to go to the away end, you have to go through people's like backyards, which is so funny, and it's just humbling to see that everything doesn't have to be like millions of dollars.
Yeah, it is, and this honestly, you said that Haaland wasn't here. It proves that
Mm-hmm.
City doesn't really rely on him like Spurs did on Harry Kane, for example, when Kane was on Spurs. Because, yeah, I mean, yes, it obviously affected how City played. It might have affected how many chances they got on net, but it doesn't affect them like as much. They have those replacements. They have the depth in their squad to have their goals still put in the net. So it's
Yeah,
just a matter of how well they can play.
Yeah, I think it caused Haaland's absence to cause City to be more creative, and they did that. They
Hmm.
got the goal. They weren't beautiful goals. I'm gonna be honest with you. They
They
were
were
a
just
little,
goals.
yeah, they were a little scrappy, but they got the win without Haaland, and I feel this is what champions have to do. They have to climb back and get results, and they did that in this game. They took advantage of Luton's mistakes, and that's how their goals, like, it led up to their goals. And it's surprising that this is only City's second win in the last 6 matches, but it
Hmm.
it was something that they needed. They had a desire to win, and I think they're not looking at their best right now, but I think maybe a little bit more into the season, maybe in January, February, I think they're gonna pick up their form, especially when they get De Bruyne back, and they're gonna go flying. They're going to go on this
Hmm.
run. They're going to go back top of the table. And I said that they're going to win the league, and I still think they are.
I still think that they'll win the league. I feel like it's gonna be a lot more competition than we anticipated, but
Mm-hmm.
they're definitely gonna win. And I feel like since they have these like bursts of how like they win like 12 games in a row and
Yeah.
then they'll lose like 6 in a row, which yeah, it's a big difference, but those 12 adds up. So it comes to the point where you know that City's just gonna end up winning because of how well their squad is, how well Guardiola works with them, and how many replacements they can have, even as we see that Haaland wasn't there.
Late comeback at Selhurst Park would secure Liverpool a 2-1 win against Crystal Palace. Jean Mateta would convert a penalty after a late challenge by Jarell Quansah, and Jordan Ayew would receive a second yellow card, resulting in a sending off. Liverpool would take advantage of the 10 men, with Salah scoring his 200th Liverpool goal, and Harvey Elliott would secure Liverpool the points in the 91st minute. Liverpool in this game, they did not convince in the first half. I believe halftime was 0-0,
Mhm.
and some changes were made to the lineup. Like, they had Allison back in this game. He came back from a little injury. Kwanzaa came in for Kanate, which I was very surprised about. I feel like putting in a kid over a more established player was quite shocking, especially in a game like this. I mean, not that Crystal Palace haven't been that good, but I feel like they're not like Luton or Burnley or something like that. And we actually saw Joe Gomez came on for Endo so that Trent could go into midfield, and then Gomez played right back. And I'm happy that we got to saw Trent more in midfield, and that Klopp is doing more of this midfield role for Trent, because he's really been back to his best, and I feel like that's where he thrives. And it was really a quiet game until that penalty. I think Crystal Palace really stood their ground. They defended well, they attacked well. I think the penalty was the correct decision. Like,
Mhm.
Kwanzaa literally kicked Mateta. It was very late, and it was finally a correct decision by a referee.
Yeah, I like to I I agree with you on that the referee finally made a good decision. And
Mhm.
halftime was 0-0, which was quite surprising because I expected Liverpool to absolutely dominate this game, honestly, seeing how their form has been a little bit recently. Sure, they've been slacking just a little bit, but not enough to have it be 0-0 at halftime. And then Crystal Palace take the lead. Sure, it was a penalty, but it was the right penalty. And like you said, Trent in midfield, I like to see that because
Mhm.
he's when he was in defense, he played more of an offensive defense, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Like
cuz he
he
loves to
was
go
up
up.
there. Yeah, he
He
was up there, he was trying to take shots, and yeah, he could get back and help defense, but that's more of a midfield role than a defense. So it's
Yeah.
good that that he's trying out a different position that works with how he normally plays.
There actually could have been another penalty in this game. In the first half, I believe Virgil van Dijk, he fouled Edouard, and it was ruled out because in the build-up, Will Hughes fouled Endo. Like, he literally pulled him down by his shirt, and I was like, I'm very happy to see some good refereeing. And
Mhm.
we don't have any controversial opinions so far, but I think that red card that Jordan Ayew got, Liverpool benefited from it, because I don't think they
Yes.
would have gotten anything from the game if it wasn't for that. Like, Salah scored right after Ayew got sent off. He got his 200th Liverpool goal. He is the fifth player in Liverpool history to ever get that. And it's so shocking because he's not a striker, right? He's a right winger. And that makes it even better to see that a non-striker can reach like this landmark, and he's probably one of the best players Liverpool has ever had, and he's just so consistent.
Mhm. Mo Salah is definitely one of my favorite players for sure. Last season, or 2 seasons ago, he was absolutely phenomenal. And then he kind
Mhm.
of slacked a little bit, but now he's back at his feet and he's amazing as always. And 200 goals is definitely a milestone. So just happy to see that. But like you said, if it wasn't for that red card, Liverpool, it might have been like a 1-1 match, if even, because they were just kind of slacking a little bit in this game. And yes, they dominated stats like I mentioned, but they were not really playing how they normally do, how I would expect Liverpool to normally play.
Yeah, I feel like it was tied 1-1, and then until like
Mhm.
the 90th minute, and then Harvey Elliott came on, and I feel like he really changed the game for them. He got his goal. It was very beautiful. He had a lot of space, which was, Crystal Palace aren't at their best, so which makes sense. And I don't think this was Liverpool's best performance at all. You
Mm-mm.
can't really keep relying on this way to win. Like, they struggle when they're away from home, but they have a good mentality, and they didn't give up, and now they're top of the table, and it all paid off. And I'm very happy to see them there.
Yeah, I am too. I mean, I know that they're not gonna stay there. It sucks to say that I know they're not gonna
Yeah.
stay there, but I feel like they're definitely gonna stay top 4 for sure.
Yeah, and I think they're gonna finish second because that's what I said, and I just feel like Arsenal are gonna mess it up again.
I feel like Arsenal and Liverpool will be fighting for that second place spot, but, I mean, I guess we'll see.
Yeah, and we'll see how they continue to do next weekend. I'm sorry. And I
Mhm,
can't wait to
next
see Liverpool versus Man United. That is going to be the best one. It's going to be 8-0
that's
Liverpool.
that no, it's probably I mean, unless Liverpool surprises us and does bad or, United surprises us and does amazing, who knows? But we'll see next week. So thank you everyone for listening. Please don't forget to follow our Instagram and YouTube at Very Factual Podcast.